New equipment.
I'd like to call this meeting to order. I'd like to do the land acknowledgement statement. We would like to begin by acknowledging that land which we gather is traditional territory of Nishnawabaki, Ottawa, and Mississauga peoples. Confirmation of the agenda that the Council of the Township of North Huron hereby accepts the agenda for February 6, 2023 council meeting as presented. Do I have a mover?
If I may, Your Worship, just because there was a revised agenda to include item 10.4, I am looking for an updated motion. But the motion would be that the Council of the Township of North Huron hereby accept the revised agenda for the February 6, 2023 council meeting to include agenda item 10.4, being a bylaw to appoint a Director of Public Works and Facilities.
Do you have a mover? Deputy Reeve Faulkner, Councillor Palmer, all in favor? Carried. Disclosure of pecuniary interests, none noted. Public comment. This is an opportunity for the members of the public to speak to an item of business on the agenda. 2 minutes per person. And if you come to the mic and state your name and what item of business you'd like to talk on the agenda about. And I'd ask that you don't repeat other people's if persons already mentioned it. Seeing none. Consent agenda. That the Council of the Township of North Huron hereby adopts consent items 5.1.1 to 5.1.2. And further, that the Council of the Township of North Huron hereby receives consent items 5.13 to 5.3.12 for information. Would anybody like to pull anything from the items? Councillor Palmer, then Deputy Reeve Faulkner.
Yeah, thank you, Reeve. This is regarding 5.3.10. I just want to give a thanks to Morris Turnberry for their donation of $122,935. And that goes towards our rec centers, and there's some other items involved in there. It's for the use of it with their citizens, per se, and I think it's just a good thing. It's something that it's between our agreements, so it's not something they need to do, but they are doing, and I commend them for that.
Thank you. Deputy Reeve.
Thank you, Through your Reeve. I'd like to pull out 2 items. The first one is 5.3.8, the letters that have come in to, in regards to the rec department and some of the recommendations that were put forward. I was contacted about one or two of them that have seemed to have been shortened up in the report here. I'm sure that's just for the space that's allocated on the agenda here. I just want to make sure that, or to assure that everyone that all of the council here received your letters the day that they were received. They went to us as soon as they came in. They were sent out to us in whole. So not to think that your letter got shortened by any means. If it did, it was just be for room on the agenda. Secondly, I'd like to point out that as council will be full aware that a lot of times if we get 3 letters, we think we're doing something, and we're getting somebody's feedback to help us make our decisions. And I want to say that the number of emails that we get in the last week and a half, 2 weeks, have been quite extraordinary. I'm counting about 40 that I got through my own email and through the council ones. There's 5 on the agenda here that are new as far as organizations that have put their letters in on that. So I just want everyone to know that that's an extraordinary amount of correspondence, and I thank you for bringing your voices forward. The second one is also on 5.3.10 on the municipality of Morris Turnberry's contribution to the rec budget. My question is, what were the metrics used for that amount that was requested? I just don't know what, to me, it looks like a guess. So I don't know as to what, you know, if it's coming off the percentage of participation, which was logged a year ago, as to how many participants actually out of cross-border use the facility. And I'm just curious as to, before this meeting, now this coming back, that's the first time I've heard this number, and I don't recall what metrics that number was used to come to.
Okay, thank you. I'll have our rec director speak to that. Thank you.
Through you, Your Worship. The metrics that were used is based on the participation numbers, that the number of residents that are from outside, or from that specific township, and things, and participation and things. The council may have noticed that there is an increase this year. Morris Turnberry increased the amount given by 6.9%. which was cost, according to their letter, cost of living.
Thank you very much. Is that, you all right with that?
Doesn't add up, yeah, but.
Did I see Councillor Wright?
Yeah, through you, Reeve. Since we're in the section of the agenda with minutes, I did just want to raise something for staff's consideration. I went back and was actually looking at the highlights, monthly council highlights of December, and specifically the section on tender results for the house and dam decommissioning. And in there it says, and I understand why this was put in because this was the direction provided to staff, but it says the project will be funded through the OCIF fund, the House and Dam Reserve Fund, and the Westario Reserve Fund. There will be no impact on taxation as a result of the project. Now that we're into the budgeting cycle, right, I think these are decisions that still have to be finalized by this council. So I just wonder if that wording should be touched up a bit. It's not a done deal on how that will be funded, correct?
So, and if I may, through Your Worship, to Councillor Wright, are you referring to the minutes themselves or the council highlights that appear on the website?
The council highlights.
So the council highlights that appear on the website are in no sense a full capturing of the activities of council. They're meant to be, I guess, digestible summary of the activities of council, but it says right on that webpage they do not contain all items that are not official minutes or records. So for any official minutes or records, you'd want to consult the minutes.
Okay, thanks for the clarification.
Okay. Nothing else from anybody? We'd just like to present them with a certificate. Come on up, Josh. Just appreciate the work that you do for us. You're working down in the Blythe there. We just appreciate all the work that you do for us, and for your upgrading is really appreciated. On behalf of council, we'd just like to share this with you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Josh. Okay, at this time, I'd like to ask John Stewart and Greg Toll to come up on the platform here and share what you have. These gentlemen are with the Blythe Lions, as everybody knows.
Thank you, Council, and good evening. As pointed out, my name is John Stewart. with me Greg Toll. We're 2 of 39 members from the Blythe Lions Club, and we also have a number of our members in the public gallery tonight. Members of the Blythe Lions Club have had the opportunity to review the 13 recommendations presented at the Township of North Huron's recent budget meeting in respect to eliminating or reducing certain services. While we agree that a 20% increase in municipal taxes is totally unacceptable, we do not believe that drastic cuts to recreation and recreation programs is the appropriate route to take. Recreation cannot and should not be measured in dollars and cents. Physical activity is important to all sectors of the population for an individual's physical and mental well-being. It is particularly important to our youth. We are all aware of the potential that exists for vandalism and more serious crimes when young people do not have the opportunity to participate with their peers in meaningful activity. It would appear that many of the 13 recommendations being proposed in the CAO's report are in complete contrast to the recommendations outlined in the recently completed Parks, Recreation, Culture Master Plan, commissioned by North Huron Council. While our Lions Club is opposed to any reduction in recreation programs and services, it is item number 9 of the CAO's recommendations, the closure of the Blythe and District Community Center from April the 1st until August the 31st on an annual basis, which we wish to focus on at this particular time. We find it difficult to understand how closing the community center for the 5-month period will save tax dollars. Whether the doors are locked or not, the facility still requires heat, hydro, water, coverage for insurance. The staff which is employed are still required for summer maintenance work or will be redeployed to other areas of the municipality. In fact, we believe that there will actually be increased cost to the taxpayers as revenue from organizations which rent the facility will not be forthcoming. As well, profits from these events, which normally would be returned to the community, will not be realized. These organizations include, but they're not limited to, the CKNX Barn Dance Campout and Jamboree, Rutabaga Festival, Huron Pioneer Thrashers and Hobby Association, Campvention, and other RV camping groups. The 150th anniversary of the incorporation of Blythe will take place shortly, and the organizing committee will require a venue to hold its celebrations.
Blythe Lions Club has in the past worked in conjunction with all of the above-mentioned groups by providing workers to assist at events and also to raise funds, which are then 100% returned to the community. Since the Blythe Lions Club received its charter in 1945, the club has raised more than $1.25 million, with every dollar being put back into the community through the club's numerous projects and activities. Closure to the community center would also have a negative impact on fundraising efforts of those other service groups, areas, churches, and of course, the Blythe business community. The Blythe Lions Club strongly believes it is vitally important to the Blythe and District Community Center be available for use by various community organizations to rent at a reasonable rate in order that these groups can continue to operate their programs.
The Blythe Lions Club also questions the need for municipal staff to review the community centers in Blythe and Wingham, since the Parks, Recreation, and Culture Master Plan makes no recommendation in respect to closing either facility. Club members believe that additional reductions to recreational services may include the permanent closure of the Blythe and District Community Center. This would be devastating to our community. The master plan states, the township arena usage trend is contrary to declining utilization levels being experienced in other communities across the province. Master plan also states, The usage rate at the Blythe and District Community Center increased from 71% to 83% between the years 2017-18 and 2019-20. May we remind Council that the Blythe and District Community Center was constructed through very generous donations from area businesses and individuals with the assistance of a grant from the provincial government. Countless hours were contributed towards the demolition of the old facility and the construction of the present building. As a short addition, which is not in your material that you received, just wanted to add that there are many uses for our recreation facilities which should be explored. And we do not believe it is the responsibility of North Huron Council or municipal staff to organize these events and activities. However, we trust that council and staff will offer encouragement and provide their expertise to organizations and individuals as they work towards establishing their activities. And I just ran some examples off. In the wintertime for the ice usage, because the Blythe Arena there, ice dimensions is a little less than NHL size, this makes it a very unique, or gives it a unique opportunity for 3-on-3 leagues and tournaments. For the use of the auditorium, just some examples, dance competitions, cooking classes, karate, yoga, tai chi are some of the possible uses. Summertime, again, back to the arena floor, we have the opportunity for a ball hockey league, lacrosse league, pickleball, home and garden shows, arts and crafts festivals, trade shows, and music festivals. And these are all things that we would like members in our community to explore and work with your recreation department to try to bring to fruition. Ball diamond, we probably have the best setup in this part of Ontario to host slow pitch and softball tournaments for teams all the way from minor softball to elite junior and senior fastball teams. 2 ball diamonds with lights, a community center with accessible washrooms, camping facilities, a children's playground close by. Very few, if any, communities can boast of such a setup. And again, we would encourage members in our community to work with the Recreation Department in further trying to utilize our ball diamonds in Blythe. In conclusion, we just want to thank Council for the opportunity to make this short presentation to you, and we trust that your serious consideration shall be given to the matter. If there are any questions, Greg and myself would be happy to try to answer them this evening, or if there's questions that come up later on, our contact information is included in the presentation, and we'd be happy to receive a phone call or an email from you, and we would certainly try to answer any questions that you have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, John and Craig. We appreciate your input and your concerns. As you know, we've had lots of responses, and yes, some have been critical, and there's some with good suggestions, as just like we're hearing from you tonight there. So these options are coming out there, and we are willing to let staff look at solutions along with what you're discussing there. It's very much appreciated. Thank you. Were there anybody from the council would like to ask these gentlemen any questions? Councillor Palmer.
Yeah, thank you, Reeve. It's not really a question, it's a comment. Yeah, thank you for your comments and for all the letters, the correspondence that we've received. It's good to know there's folks out there that love their community. Now, you got to remember, too, that night that you're referring to, of the 13 points, they were points, they were suggestions. They were to bring out conversation for us. And yeah, you're going to hear maybe some things you don't want to hear, and then you're going to hear on the other side. Like my first comments that night was, let's keep it. And that wasn't appreciated by all of our members. But those were my first comments. Yes, I see it as the center, and Wingham here, as the heart of our community. So what else can we do? So that's the rest of the night, is what else can we do? You know, can we lease them out, from leasing them out to closing them, or operating them at a loss sometimes? Like, that was the gamut. And you just have to allow us to go through that procedure, and your suggestions and comments are welcome, for sure. But we're not done yet. We've got a lot of conversation yet. Okay, we've asked staff to do some things, do some studies and what have you, and we need more information, because we don't have it all yet, the economic ones. So that's where we're at right now, okay?
Okay, thank you, I appreciate the comments, and just also to let council know that we're not here to fight council on this, we're here to work together, and there's obviously going to be different opinions and different ideas come forward, and as a Lions Club, we think we're, I was going to say pretty important in the community, that's probably the wrong word, but we've done a lot of community work, and we want to continue our work in the community, and we want to work together with council and any other groups that come forward. So I appreciate your comments, Councillor.
Thank you. Any other remarks from any of the councillors? Oh, well, thank you very much for coming, you two gentlemen. Appreciate that, and the people that you brought. Now we're moving on to the clerk's department. 7.1.1 PL 2023-2, request to initiate update of North Huron zoning bylaw. Are there any questions for Hannah from council members? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Councillor Palmer.
Okay, thank you, Reeve. To Hannah, I'm not sure if this one relates to this one or the next one, but if we pass these, does that mean that we are accepting Bill 23 as is?
Through the Reeve, to answer that question, so in regards to the report that we're on now, it's just requesting that council initiate the project to look at reviewing the text and the mapping that's in the zoning bylaw. Part of the recommendations that staff will bring is implementing the direction in Bill 23, but it'll require additional meetings and motions with council to actually change the text to follow the legislation, but that's part of the justification why we think an update is timely.
Okay.
And then in regards to my next item, which I can answer more questions when we get to that, but that is, part of that is implementing the direction that we've gone from Bill 23 into the site plan bylaw, just to make sure that it aligns with the provincial legislation that takes precedence.
That the Council of the Township of North Huron hereby receives a report of the planner dated February 6, 2023, regarding a request to initiate an update to the North Huron zoning bylaw for information purposes. And further, that council directs that amendment to the Township of North Huron zoning bylaw be formally initiated. Do I have a mover? Councillor McBurney? Seconder, Councillor Whitfield? Any other questions for Hannah before we let her go? All in favor? Passes. 7.1.2 PL 2023-03 Site Plan Control Bylaw Update. That the Council of the Township of North Huron hereby receives a report of the clerk dated February 6, 2023, regarding an update to the Site Plan Control Bylaw for information purposes. And further, that the proposed site plan control bylaw for the Township of North Huron under Section 41(2) of the Planning Act be approved as presented. And further, that the clerk be directed to include the site plan control bylaw on February 21, 23 regular council meeting for adoption. Do I have a mover? Deputy Reeve Faulkner, seconder. Councillor Wright. Any questions concerning this? Go ahead, Councillor Palmer.
Thank you, Reeve, to Hannah. Some of the exemptions seem just out there, you know, about the 10-plus units, and it just seems like it's getting out of our hands too much. Like, I'm not a control person, but you've got to have some when it comes to building. And it just, from what I'm reading, and I could be wrong, you have to help me there, it's almost just letting them go, letting them do it.
Right, so through your, my comment would be on that, because Bill 23 does state we must exempt development that is less, or 10 or less units. The intent of this was just to update the local bylaws so that it reflects the Planning Act, because otherwise our current restriction, which was you're only exempt 4 or more units, is inoperable. So, and so that's why we have proposed to update it as is. But I understand some of the comments. I think staff will have to be mindful of how to incorporate some technical considerations into other processes, for example, but it'll be a change, yeah.
Yeah, 23 is a huge change, and we've never had a chance to, like, I know you've looked at it, obviously, but we have no idea, a small idea. And, you know, it affects our bylaws and everything, and like, you know, for any, you know, affordable housing units, say we don't get to collect development charges, things like that. Like, I'm not sure if everyone knows that. Is there going to be compensation for that? Because that could amount to a lot of money. And the cost to us is still there, to the municipality. So, you know, just little, that's one item that I'm having a lot of trouble with. I believe in giving things away for free. There's got to be some bite in, some skin in the game, so to say.
And any other questions for Hannah? Okay. I'll call this vote. Raise your hands, please. Those accepting? Carried. Thank you, Hannah. 7.1.3 CL 2023-04 Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan Oversight Committee. Are there any questions for Clerk Lamb?
May I ask a question? Sorry. Thank you, Reeve. This is just the process of the procedure we have to do for the plan, isn't it? It's just a follow-up from what we are already doing for a couple of years and what you were part of, or still are maybe.
So through you, Reeve Heffer, to answer Councillor Van Heersum's question. So yeah, you're correct. So we were required by provincial mandate to establish a community safety and well-being plan. There was a working group that worked through that process with the Social Research and Planning Council through the United Way, developed the plan, brought it, and then it was presented to all the 9 lower tier municipalities in Huron County, and all of those municipalities adopted that plan. And basically the next step is to carry out what is in that plan. And one of the things that is in that plan is that an oversight committee will be established to basically oversee the implementation of that plan. And so the working group has been working through what that oversight committee looks like, and that's where we landed on. So basically representatives from each of the lower tier municipalities, this council appointed Councillor McBurney to sit on that, and then representatives from the various sectors that are required to be at the table, from education, mental health, those kind of things, and they will basically oversee the implementation of the plan to work on things, I guess, from a more regional perspective, to tackle those identified issues to work on as a community. And so basically, Councillor McBurney's role will be to bring things back from the Oversight Committee for, here's the initiative that the committee wants to work through, and we would like all the municipalities to jump on board, whether that's promotion or social media activity, whether that's contributing to our initiatives. So I guess for the benefit of new council members, we budget $10,000 every year to carry out basically the action items of the community safety and wellbeing plan, and so that's kind of what the setup is going to look like, and it's going to be more in the hands of the oversight committee with, I guess, staff support from that working group still. So, yeah.
Go ahead, Councillor McBurney.
Yeah, through you, Reeve, our first meeting is March 22nd, I believe, in regards to that oversight committee.
Yep, and that's correct, and hence this report. So basically, similar reports are going to the 8 other lower tier municipalities around this time to establish that framework and get it in place in time for their March meeting.
Okay. May I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Van Henderson. Deputy Reeve Faulkner. That the Council of the Township of North Huron hereby receives the report of the clerk dated February 6, 2023 regarding the Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan Oversight Committee for information purposes, and further, that the council approves the terms of reference for the establishment of an oversight committee for the Huron County Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan, including the composition of the oversight committee, and further, that the council directs clerk to prepare a bylaw for the February 21, 23 regular council meeting to establish an oversight committee for the Huron County Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan, and to appoint members to that committee. So were there any other questions for Clerk Lamb before we call a vote? Seeing none, a show of hands, please. Carried. Finance Department. 7, I think our clerk's going to have something to say here.
Yeah, so actually the CAO is going to provide an update on this one.
Yeah, thanks, Your Worship. So unfortunately, our Director of Finance had an emergency situation, is unable to attend tonight's meeting. So in terms of, we'd like this matter to be deferred and brought forward to our next meeting, save and except for one item that's in there. And that has to do with supplementary environmental work that we need to complete to satisfy the terms of a purchase and sale agreement for the Wingham Trailer Park property. So at this time, the recommendation is essentially to defer the report, save and except for granting authorization to use up to a maximum of $15,000 from the Economic Development Reserve Funds to undertake and complete environmental work on the trailer site property.
Thank you.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Councillor Palmer, seconds. All those in favor? Carried. Moving on to 7.2.2. 2023-05 Hutton Heights Woodlot Harvest Revenue. We'll just defer that too.
Through your worship, we certainly can in terms of, it does speak to establishment or with respect to an economic development reserve. Council, so just for the public's information, we undertook a harvest of land, woodlot property out at Hutton Heights, and there was revenue generated in the amount of $14,475 that we received. And so this report is seeking council's approval or authorization to move those funds into a reserve account to be used on future development in Hutton Heights. So certainly if council wishes to defer until the director is present, that's no problem.
Yes, go ahead.
I can make the motion that we do that.
Okay.
Go to.
Councillor Van Henderson,
To complete it?
Yep,
to what?
To move the motion as.
to move the motion as is, yeah.
This is, do you have a seconder? Councillor Palmer?
And so maybe I'll just read back the motion, just so everyone's on the same page. But the motion on the floor would be that the Council of the Township of North Huron hereby receives the report from the Director of Finance/Treasurer dated February 6, 2023, regarding the Hutton Heights woodlot harvest revenue for information purposes, and further that council authorizes the Director of Finance/Treasurer to allocate the revenue of $14,475 from the Hutton Heights woodlot harvest to the Economic Development Reserve for the Hutton Heights Development Project.
All in favor? Carried.
Excuse me, Reeve, before we move on, one quick thing, I guess I should have mentioned it in 7.2.1. A lot of great work was done on this agenda item. You can take my compliments back to the Director of Finance. The only question I was going to ask tonight was, there was that OPP overpayment, which happened last year, and I didn't see that in the reserve funds anywhere. So if you could just provide that feedback, just curious what happened for that, if a new reserve fund is being set up for that, or what the intent is. Thanks.
Okay, that's taken care of. Good. 7.3.1, RC 2023-02, North Huron Museum, next steps. May I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Wright, seconder. Deputy Reeve, Faulkner. The Council of the Township of North Huron hereby receives the report prepared by the Director of Recreation and Community Service dated February 6, 2023 regarding the North Huron Museum for information purposes. And further, that the Council authorize the Director of Finance to transfer $70,000 of unspent funds from the 2022 budget to reserve to fund the 2023 museum deaccessioning project. And further, that the council authorizes the Director of Finance to transfer $70,000 from the reserves to the 2023 museum operation budget to fund the museum deaccessioning project. And further, that council authorizes staff to proceed with the hiring of a temporary full-time museum deaccessioning assistant. And further, that the Council of the Township of North Huron hereby authorize $4,300 to be transferred from the museum working reserves to fund an internal environmental assessment for the museum building to advance of commencing the museum deaccessioning project. Are there questions for our Director, Lutenberg? Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Reeve. I was just wondering what the goal was, or what are they looking for with that environmental assessment?
Do you want to speak to it?
You want to-
Chip is going to speak to it.
Okay. I can't see over there. I can't see.
That's turned on.
Yep.
The environmental assessment is to check for mold, mildew, asbestos, any hazardous material, so that anybody that's going in there will have an idea. There'll be a report come back so that they can refer to that if there is any hazardous substances within the building.
Say there's mold or something? what
If
do
there
they
could
do?
be, yep, if there could be, they were actually here today and have already conducted the survey and going to prepare a report.
What do we do if they find something?
Then there would be action within the report on necessary actions that you would take, depending on what you're going to do. Some asbestos, as long as you don't disturb it, it's not an issue. And if there is mold in that, and I did make sure I went over and chatted with the gentleman, and he said it doesn't look like there's anything to be too alarmed about
Okay.
at this point.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for our Director of Public Works? Go ahead, Councillor Wright.
Yeah, thank you, Reeve. I'm sure this was discussed last year, but just curious, what is the final spot where the artifacts are going to be kept once deaccessioning is complete?
Here comes.
Through you, your worship, when the items are deaccessioned, we will no longer be in possession of them. Depending on where they're relocated to, it could be another museum, et cetera. That's where they would be housed. It would not, North Huron would no longer be in possession of those items. we would no longer retain ownership of them.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for? Okay, thank you. All those in favor? Carried. 7.4.1, cemetery grass cutting RFP results. May I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Whitfield, Councillor Van Hitterson. That the Council of the Township of North Huron hereby receives the report of the Interim Director of Public Works and Facilities dated February 6, 2023, regarding the RFP results from the cemetery grass cutting for information purposes. And further, that the council directs staff to prepare a contract with ADS Industries for the 2023 grass cutting season at the 2 active cemeteries in North Huron in the amount of $25.80 plus applicable taxes per cut. And further, that the work performed be evaluated at the end of 2023 season. Are there any questions for our director? Okay, I saw Councillor McBurney's hands first, and then we'll follow by Deputy Reeve Faulkner's.
Okay.
Go ahead, Councillor McBurney. Go ahead.
Yep. My question to you, Chip, is in regards to that 65,000, how many lawn cuts are in that?
Through you, Reeve Heffer, what I based it on is 30 cuts per year.
30? So this, okay. And then that other cost, is that lawnmower included in that 65? Or that's on top?
The replacement lawnmower? No, that is not included in there.
Okay, that's good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Deputy Reeve?
Yes, through you, Reeve. I find that a huge amount difference. For us to do it for $65,000 and they're proposing to do the cutting for $25.80, 2,000?
Per cut.
Per cut. Excuse me. That answers my question. Thank you.
Would have been a really good deal.
Yeah. Yeah, it didn't. I hit the number and went, oh, thank you.
Are there any other, Councillor Palmer?
Yeah, through you, Reeve, Chip. It says in the document that if this passes, then, you know, you won't have to buy that mower for $23,000. Would that be a done deal? You just don't buy it if this passes, or is a motion required to say that?
Through you, Reeve, what we would do is we would remove it from the 2023 budget.
Good. I like that.
Thank you. Any other questions for our Public Works Director? Seeing none? All in favor? Carried. Please hold your hands up just a little bit longer so I can see them. My neck can't move fast. Okay, thank you. Thank you. 7.5, Fire Department. 7.6, Office of the CAO. 7.6.1, CS 2023-01, Final Concept Mural Design, approved of Huron County Mural Project, Wingham. May I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Wright? Councillor McBurney? Okay, do we have any questions for Denise? Any questions for Denise? Noted. That the Council of the Township of North Huron hereby receives the report prepared by the Community Engagement Coordinator dated February 6, 2023, regarding approval of the design of the Huron County Mural Project, Wingham, for information purposes, and further, that the council approves the final concept mural design for the Huron County Mural Project, Wingham, as presented. I know I was down at the complex, and it really looked good. I know Trevor Sipes was down there taking information from the public, everyone got to see it, and it looked good, and I just want to say kudos to the connectors and the BIA and for the public for their input, but I really appreciate the picture that it's showing, and it's going to look nice up there. So I can move her in a second. Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Your worship.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
just wanted to introduce Abby, the
Oh.
very heard on the mural.
oh, nice meeting you, Abby, and we look forward to your workmanship there, and it's going to be, looks really going to be looking nice. Thank you.
You do have to give her a seconder.
All in favor? Carried. Correspondence. Barn Dance Historical Society letter for the 25th Annual Camp Out Jamboree. May I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor McBurney, Councillor Palmer, that the Council of the Township of North Huron hereby direct staff to inform the Barn Dance Historical Society that their 25th Annual Camp Out Jamboree event is able to proceed as planned. And further, that council grants an extension for the security provisions in the rental agreement for the event as requested. All those in favor? Carried. Council reports. We're at a delegation down at Toronto, and we had presented a delegation with Minister of Education, Patricia Barnes, and our CAO Evans had a very good report made out to him, along with Carl Ellis, and they really paid attention. I noticed when they're giving them the stats on what's happening with, let's say, the nurses up at the hospital, where they're out for maybe a 12-month maternity leave, but a lot of them are taking the 18. It really seemed to perk them up when they saw that. And along with that, there's a lot of different municipalities that gave this type of delegation, and just how strong it's going to go. They're saying that they have to make a decision of what the $149 million, how they'll make the best use of these funds. So that was very interesting. And then at one of the morning functions, it was sort of hydro was, right now they're producing 42 megawatts. I'm not an electrician, so believe me, that they're producing up at Kincardine there, and now they want to move it up to 88. My math is not bad, so that's double the amount. And that's in our own backyard. So that is really going to be interesting, what's going on, I guess, with all the building that's going on and whatnot. So I'm sure we're going to be seeing changes that and just different things that they're going to be using from this. Was there anybody else had any reports here? Council members, go ahead. Councillor Palmer?
Well, okay, I'll just add to that, the Roma thing, the Roma conference. The theme, to me, overwhelmingly was attainable housing. Get these ones on. Attainable housing, it was mentioned just over and over and over again. There were many, like throughout the days, provincial people were announcing different programs that are out there and are coming and what have you. So, 936 million towards a housing strategy. And of course, the province wants 1.5 million homes by 2031. So, of all types. So that would include some of the attainable. Then they say to attract more attainable housing, you've got to have services and assets. Well, we have that, don't we? They say it's the key to a thriving community. The province is giving $308 million over 10 years to help homelessness and $512 million towards wellness. And that's mental health and drug use. And then second theme to me was reconciliation with the Indigenous peoples. Had a couple speakers about that, and it was good to hear their, one was maybe a little stronger than the other as far as how they got their opinions out. And, but it was good to hear. Good to hear, you know, because we never lived it. So to hear people that are close to people that did, it's quite striking. So those are, and then, you know, you can add a lot of things. I talked to an MPAC. This is where just, you know, you've got the, what is it called when all the industry things are out there. MPAC was there, so I thought, I think it's about time. We need to hear, I need to know what's going on. When's the next assessment? And so the MPAC lady said, we don't know. Government hasn't given us permission yet. So, oh, okay. I said, you know, it should have happened 2 years ago, you know. It would have been a lot easier on everybody, because this is going to be an awful hit when it does come out. And she agreed, but at the time, it seemed to be the nicest way of dealing with it during the COVID deal. Anyways, it'll be a 4-year, you know, a lump of time, you know, from whenever, 2023, 24, whenever it happens. It'll be a 4-year thing, and bang, you know, it'll be incremental as that goes, and it will not be easy. Yeah, that was my thoughts.
Great. Thank you. Go ahead, Councillor Wright.
Yeah, I have two items, one I'm kind of under 9.2 and one 9.3. So for 9.2 council member reports, I did just want to bring back a message from the Wingham BIA. Did have a chance to attend the meeting back there a couple weeks ago. And, you know, they brought up, I think, a good point with regards to cuts in recreational services. The BIAs see those things as pretty significant economic drivers in our community. They bring people into town, specifically, you know, from the outside areas, right? And of course, they stay and spend money and shop when they're here. So it is something that we do need to consider if we're looking at cutting those services. Is if we think we're cutting, you know, saving X amount, we're probably not, because if we lose businesses, there's going to be a drop in revenues that are going to offset that as well, right? So I thought it was an interesting point that I'd bring up tonight. And if I may go on to 9.3, because I think we're kind of blending them together. Just with regards to with the...
Just I'll make sure no one else has any other...
Okay, sorry.
Does anybody else have updates? No? Okay, go ahead.
Okay,
Councillor
thanks,
Wright.
Reeve. Sorry. Yeah, just one general comment with regards to the reports we're getting. I'd like to see, and I'll leave it up to staff to determine how this happens, but I'd like to see some regular reporting on project status. Just really high-level stuff, right? Like, are we in design? When do we expect the design to be done? When are we starting construction? Just very high-level stuff. Just, it is a repeated question I get asked. And, you know, we get updates when something happens, but it'd just be nice if that information was available in order to refer to and be able to pass that information along to residents. So totally open to see what that looks like, but I would like that to be added to the reports we get either from the directors or the CAO.
Thank you. Any other comments by members? Okay. Notice of motion. Is
I've got a
anybody-
notice of motion.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Yes. I'm just going to read it so everyone's aware. That staff supplies a line-by-line document depicting the complete, that's 2023, budget as is. And further that, the said document is presented at the commencement of future budgets.
Okay, get that or you want it?
Yeah, so Councillor Palmer has provided me that in writing as well, in accordance with our procedures. So basically that notice of motion will appear on the February 21st agenda for council to discuss.
Thank you. No other notice of motion? Okay, thank you. Bylaws. 10.1, bylaw number 523, borrowing bylaw. May I have a mover and a seconder? Deputy Faulkner? Councillor McBurney? All in favor? Carried. Bylaw number 6, 2023, interim tax levy bylaw. May I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Wright, Councillor Van Heersen. All those in favor? Carried. Bylaw number 7, 2023, rescind and revoke of lease agreement for 431 Josephine Street. May I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor McBurney, Councillor Whitfield. All those in favor? Carried. 10.4,
Yes, so that's bylaw number 9, 2023, appointment of the Director of Public Works and Facilities.
may I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Whitfield, Councillor Wright. All those in favor? Carried. Announcements. The next regular council meeting will be held on Tuesday, February 21, 2023, at 6 p.m. in the North Huron Town Hall. Are there any other announcements anybody like to share? Okay. Closed session and reporting out that the council of the Township of North Huron hereby proceeds at
6:57 p.m.
6:57 p.m. to an in-camera session closed to the public under Section 239, 2B and C and K of the Municipal Act to discuss the following: a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, and a position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality or local board. And further, that the CO Evans remains in item 1, 2, and 3, Clerk Lamb remains 1, 2, and 3, and Economic Development Officer Mark Rakos, item 1, remain in attendance. Do I have a mover and a seconder, please? Deputy Reeve, Councillor Palmer, all those in favor?